of riding an emotional roller coaster? Are you tired of riding an emotional roller coaster every month? As a woman, I get it. The Women's Wheel is here to be your emotional anchor. Understand your cycle and discover the archetypes that resonate with your unique and dynamic emotional landscape. Together, let's find balance, strength, and a sense of ease through the changes. Head to womenswheel.co to start your journey of self-discovery and emotional empowerment today.
All right, welcome everyone. I'm going to be starting a live episode pretty soon. I'm just waiting on my guests to be here. In the meantime, I'll just fill some time as I play with some of the tools that I have available to me, such as doing live audio clips. So let's go ahead and get our intro going. All right, so this is my first time doing a live episode. I think I have it set up correctly, so this should be live on the Riverside website where I'm doing the recording, as well as live on Facebook, but I honestly don't remember which of my Facebook accounts I have this connected on, and live on YouTube. And hey, it looks like we have John with us. Hey, John, are you able to hear me okay? I think I can hear you, John.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you. I don't think I have a way to send you a message, so I'll just message you on Facebook. We're also still waiting on another one to arrive, so Christopher will be with us shortly. Meanwhile, I'm going to be
Can you hear
investigating
me?
to see if I... Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
so
hear you.
let me double check I am getting audio. I'm seeing signal on my microphone, and I'm also seeing signal on the meeting that shows I have audio.
It's up.
Mm,
Can you check if your headphones connected? Say something.
do you hear me now at all? No, I guess not. All right, click the webcam icon on the right side of the address bar, and you'll see option to select a different... Oh, never mind, that's for microphones. That's for microphones. You can change your speaker output by clicking the volume option on the bottom right windows. Wait, I think I did see that. Okay, cool. I am live on YouTube. I don't know where to go to view it. Oh, there's the video link.
Okay, I don't know what the hell's going on. I'll try to come back.
Maybe you could try connecting headphones if you have those.
I don't have headphones here. I'm gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. Try reloading the page.
Meanwhile, I'm investigating to see how to figure out where am I. Oh, I've got Christopher connecting.
Hi.
Good.
Still not hearing.
Is the sound good enough? Is the
Hi,
sound good?
Christopher. I can. You
Nicholas.
sound wonderful to me.
Hey, John.
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
John is having trouble hearing us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So for now, we'll just sit tight until John's able to
a
hear
minute.
us.
Yeah. Everything. How was Miami and all that stuff?
Well, we just got an air conditioning installed in the house, which is one thing we needed in order to have it pass inspection to make it available for loans. So we are hopefully going to be selling it in the next couple of weeks.
You're making progress.
Yes, making progress. It'll be nice to not have all the expenses when she's on Medicaid. So
All of that stuff is so stressful, and I totally understand. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is. All right, so I think John's gonna probably try reloading the web page. It didn't work.
Oh, I can hear him now.
Yeah, we can hear him. He can't hear us.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't. You can't hear my dogs barking, can you?
No, I can't.
Yeah, he can't hear them, so that's good.
Trying to think what else I could suggest for John to try out.
John can't. We can hear John, but John can't hear us. Is there any other thing you can think of?
Unless I run around.
He says he doesn't have any. Yeah, sorry. He says he doesn't have any headphones connected. His volume's all the way up. His tab is not muted.
Okay. Does he live really close to us, or
I'll
no?
restart my computer.
Oh, he's restarting. Just the
Maybe
volume.
Know some IT things, so maybe if John would be okay with that, I could send Volker over. Maybe not.
He's over by the Publix on US 19 and about 17th. So
yeah, that's kind of a distance.
Yeah, he's not in our neighborhood specifically, but that's okay. I think John's going to restart his computer and come back in. Yeah. Well, in the meantime, this is my first time trying a live session. It looks like I'm live on YouTube, so I connected that well.
Good.
We don't have anybody watching, so no one's watching the fuck ups in the beginning just yet.
Yeah,
I'm going to be cleaning it up in the edit.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's fun. We normally do these podcasts alone.
So every week I've been talking with a different artist. The theme of the podcast is how people make money with their art. So I've talked to writers, publishers, actors, photographers about like making prints or selling at markets or doing festivals or contests and stuff like that. And I'm obsessed with movies, so I'm trying to kind of like roll that into the podcast. So this is my first time doing live one.
So is it good to talk about, like, sometimes, like movies give me like a lot of creative inspiration?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is that something, to throw out there when we're talking, or okay?
Yeah. Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
cool.
I'm going to try and act like a host. Like, I'll be calling on you individually, get your feedback on stuff, but feel free to interrupt at any point.
Okay, now I did my very best to see as much as I could. Um,
I thought I did well, but then I saw the list, and I've missed a lot of important
okay.
movies, it seems.
Sure. Well,
hear
we'll
you.
see what we both know
You
and
do?
go from there.
You can hear us, John?
I can. Sometimes I don't know why.
Okay.
Sometimes the speak stop and I have to restart the computer. I don't.
There you
Okay.
go.
That's
Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretend we're starting again. So I'm going to play an ad, and then I'm going to play the intro music, and then I'll introduce both of you guys, okay?
Okay, terrific.
All right, thank you.
Are you tired of riding an emotional roller coaster every month? As a woman, I get it. The Women's Wheel is here to be your emotional anchor. Understand your cycle and discover the archetypes that resonate with your unique and
Volker's still
dynamic
trying to
emotional
understand my
landscape.
cycle.
Together, let's find balance, strength, and a sense of ease through the changes. Head to womenswheel.co to start your journey of self-discovery and emotional empowerment today.
wow.
All right, so I am lucky to have two guests with me this time, the amazing Christopher Rich and the amazing John Gasco. John, we had on the podcast earlier. So, John, I want to start off by asking, how was your show at the work?
Oh, it just ended and it was fabulous. It was really awesome.
Yay.
Yeah.
Terrific.
So John did an amazing series of paintings all about drag culture and voguing. Is that right?
Ballroom culture.
Wonderful.
Ballroom culture. Awesome.
Wonderful.
And Christopher, thank you for joining me too. Christopher, you're also an artist in the Kenwood neighborhood.
Yes.
So tell us a bit about what kind of work you do.
So I do assemblage work, and I use antiques, recyclables, sometimes new things, everything from china to dolls to things I find or people send to me, and I create sculpture with that. Large ones, big ones. I do a lot of memory boxes and all of that kind of stuff.
I love your dolls. What do you call them? Little cuties or something like that?
Yeah, there's different ones, like, so I do Party Girls, which is the one that they're antique Cupid dolls that are mounted in vintage martini glasses with fake ice cubes, and they have top hats on them, and they're all different. Each doll is different. So I try not to buy, two dolls at the same time when I find them. So they're all unique to each other. And I do some other, like I use serving pieces and mount antique toys, broken mechanical toys, and I work in other things that kind of have the same feeling to each piece.
Great. Well, I'm excited to have both of you here because I go to the movies at least once a week. I obsessively watch everything that's new, and I have no friends who are as obsessed with movies as I am. So I'm very happy to get the two of you together to gush about this list. And I don't know about you two, but I was disappointed in the list because I've seen so few movies. I thought I was doing really well. I saw 112 new movies that came out in the year, and I've only seen half of the Best Picture nominations. So how did you guys do with keeping up with all the great stuff that came out in 2023?
Sure.
I would say about
Christopher, let me start with you.
What's that? I'm sorry?
So I want to start with you, Christopher. How was it hard to keep up with all the movies that were coming out last year?
It was. There were a lot of movies that I was kind of like torn between, like, what should I see first, or if I want to see it or not see it. One of those movies would be Past Lives. I've tried to watch it 3 different times, and it just doesn't do it for me. And I enjoy the lead actress quite a bit. I know her from the morning show and other things, but yeah, that one wasn't such a great one for me. But I did see a lot of really good films this year that I'm excited to see made the Oscar nominations list.
I'm interested in hearing you say that about Past Lives because that was my number one movie of the year.
Isn't that funny? See,
Yeah.
I thought I'd really like it, and several friends said, "Oh, you need to see Past Lives." And I tried, and I felt like it was a little. I enjoyed the flashback scenes more than I did the current tundra of the movie, for sure.
What about you, John? Did you find that it was just like a crazy amount of stuff this year? Was it hard to keep up? How would you compare it to 2022's films?
Yeah, and I don't know if it has to do with the fact that now it's like you have at the movies, but now you have straight to streaming that are all kind of going on at the same time. It seems like it just increases the amount of stuff that's out there. But I would say I'm like with you. I've probably seen about half of the best. Yeah, of the
And
best.
so I also want to touch on what Christopher said too. There's a lot of movies that were on the list and that were made a lot of money, were important movies this year that I just don't give a shit about. Like I don't know if emotionally I can handle watching the Zone of Interest, a movie about the people who work in Auschwitz. It's
Right,
like,
right.
yeah, and then also there's that super Christian movie that made a ton of money this year about the kids being kidnapped into sex
Oh
slavery.
my gosh, yeah, and that was such BS too, because it was all a little scheme to
Yeah,
detract voters. Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm
yeah,
not familiar with that one.
yeah. It's horrible.
Just kept buying out the theaters for that one. It was with Jim Caviezel. I can't even remember the name.
Well, and especially when it came out that all of those, the reason it was doing so well at the box office was because all of these religious groups were going and buying mass amounts of tickets and not even showing up at the theater. So
Right.
that of course increased the box office money making part of it. But yeah, that was it.
All right, so before we get into the actual Oscar nominations, I have a few of our own like little categories I wanted us to chat about. So
Sure.
starting with you, John, what was your favorite series that you watched? Whether it's a limited series, a mini series, a season of a TV show that you watched in
So,
2023.
so I was thrilled to see how Beef took over what was it, the Emmys? Yeah, the Emmys. Um, but my favorite was Swarm. Um,
Swarm. Oh, that's right. I wanted to watch that, but never got onto it.
it was just really clever and really dark, and Dominique Fishback was the lead actress. And when those nominations came out, I was like, "Ooh, it's between Ali and Dominique." But even though I really wanted Dominique to win. Like her performance was just beyond. But I
Terrific.
was happy. I was happy for Ali because I just enjoyed that whole series. It was kind of fresh, and
You're referring to the Emmys, right?
the Emmys. I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I feel bad that I didn't watch anything with the Emmys. I mean, I was in the middle of getting a new AC installed in a house in Miami, so but I
That's
I
so
did want
important.
to. Yeah. But that was on one of that was one of the shows that I wanted to watch, heard great things about. But it's hard enough to keep up with new movies. It's even harder to keep up with series.
It really
Sure.
is. There's so much good TV out there and movies. I mean, but specifically TV, like I'm old enough to remember when there were a certain amount of channels and certain amount of content, and when the TV went off at 1 a.m. or whatever it was, and now it's just unlimited. The amount of stuff that comes out is just
Mm-hmm.
unlimited, and it's so hard to keep up with.
And what about you, Christopher? What was some shout outs and the ultimate the best thing you
So,
want to direct people towards from the earth?
so I loved Beef. Of course, Ali Wong is fantastic, and I
She
think she's
is.
super talented. And it was, while there were a lot of neat, different things going on in the movie, it was comedic. There were some comedic points which I think held audiences and watchers that you wanted to come. It wasn't like so depressing or anything like that, but I enjoyed that. But one of my favorites was For All the Light You Cannot See. I loved that. I had read the book. I was very interested as it was being made. I had read about it and about the actress who played the lead part. Did either of y'all see it?
No.
No, but I did hear that one of the film reviewers I listened to said that they were very excited about it and they couldn't get past the first episode.
Oh, wow. So I guess because I had read, like I said, I had read the book and I thought that the story followed the book really well, which usually isn't the case. And
Right.
I was really interested in watching too because I had read that the main actress is actually blind, like the main character of the story. So I loved it. I loved it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you enjoyed it. What network is that on?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, what streaming service or network was that on?
That's on Netflix.
Okay. I lost access to Netflix when they I think it was around February when they like took out the ability to stream on someone else's account. They got rid of the crackdown on that. So I had pretty much the whole year with no Netflix. So that's where the biggest hole in what I was able to see this year is.
Yeah.
So for me, I definitely want to quickly shout out how incredible The Last of Us was. I feel like we don't deserve a show as good as The Last of Us.
Right.
But what I really want to call out is a Korean show that was on Hulu called Moving. I'm a sucker for superhero stuff.
I saw
But
that
Moving,
I didn't see it though.
yeah. So it's advertised as a superhero thing, but that's really not the crux of it. It starts off as a teen drama. These two kids meet in high school. They start to fall for each other. They find out that both of them are hiding a secret, and the secret is that they each have some type of superpower. And then the show becomes a flashback on how their parents, who also have superpowers, used to work for the government, like in espionage, doing spying against North Korea and stuff, involved in these like secret wars. And then a whole bunch of stuff got in trouble, and they had to go into hiding from both the South Korean and North Korean government. And that's how they ended up in this town where the children meet. And then it all kind of comes crashing down at the end of the series as everyone gets discovered. But incredible emotion, storylines, so many great ways that they've like shown how these powers can manifest and be useful. I found it wonderful, and it was very moving.
It is funny. Those Korean soap operas and all of the stuff that they have done this last year on Netflix. It's amazing. Some of them are really, really good.
Yeah. So, is there any shows that you're excited about next or 2024?
Yes, I know this might sound a little crazy, but Sofia Vergara has a new show coming out on Netflix, and it's called Griselda. And it is about a Colombian drug lord that was very famous. And I'm interested to see her. You always see her in these comedic roles. Mm-hmm. And she is funny, and I'm just a fan. So sometimes I tend to go for those shows that maybe aren't that great, but they might have someone super fun in it. So I'm interested to see how she'll be as a dramatic actress.
I don't know why I thought that was a movie, and I've been waiting for it to be out as a movie. And
right.
They've kind of toughened her up, but have you seen the real Griselda?
Right.
I mean, she's still pretty glamorous for.
Yeah.
The real Griselda was kind of like, she looked kind of like Selena's, the lady that killed Selena, but with a lot of makeup.
Right. Ooh. Yikes.
She really did. Because I watched. They have a documentary on it on Netflix, I believe.
Oh, cool.
Real case.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a documentary. It's either a docuseries or a Most of them seem to be docuseries now, but
nice.
but yeah, they have one. I forget what the title is, but you can watch I would suggest to watch the real one
Okay.
prior to the show, because that's why I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Oh, great.
Very cool.
We'll check it out.
What about you, John? What are you excited about?
Ooh. This is corny, but I think I'm gonna say, well, two. Handmaid's Tale, because I think it's the last one, and I've just
Mhm.
I've
That's
loved
going to
it.
be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And last season was like a season where you finally, because prior to that, I would always have to like watch a comedy immediately after because it just destroys you. But last season, I felt like you had moments where you could cheer for the characters,
Mm-hmm.
and that was
For sure.
exciting to me. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to another one that's the last of the season, and that's What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
I hate to
shame
see it
that
go,
that's ending. That's right.
but sometimes it's
Yeah,
best that they end on a high note, on a strong.
true.
then
Uh,
dragging it out. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes the shows just, because there's shows like Nip Tuck that I used to love, and then I didn't
Mm-hmm.
watch like probably the last 3 or 4 seasons because it went so long. The same happened to me with The Walking Dead.
Oh,
Um,
Mm,
right.
some shows just
yeah.
go on and on and on, and so while I'll miss it, it's probably a good thing.
Hello,
Hello,
Nicholas.
is he frozen?
He's frozen.
Yeah, he can't be in there.
It's his
Nicholas.
turn now.
Oh
Nick,
my
can you
God.
hear us?
Nick, what shows are you excited for?
Yes, Nick. We want to know immediately.
Boy.
So I'm with you on The
We'll
Handmaid's
take
Tale.
over.
I kind of forgot. I did that slipped my mind that the last season, which I like they say, I'm with you. I think it might be the last season. I've read all of those Margaret Atwood stories, and I loved it. I was very kind of turned off when I found out that what's the star? Oh, I'm so sorry.
She's a
The
Scientologist.
Yes.
Me too.
That freaked
That's very
me out. I
disappointing.
was like,
Yeah,
oh my
agreed.
gosh,
Agreed.
really? And I wonder if Margaret Atwood knew that about her when she was
Mm,
hired. Because she was
yeah.
on an advisory for the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe
I
she
don't know.
just,
She's Elizabeth Moss. Elizabeth Moss.
that's
She
right,
is,
Elizabeth Moss.
yeah,
Yeah.
she is so. I think her best acting is in the quiet moments of her
Yes,
show.
she really conveys a lot with her eyes and her body
Yeah, like
language, for sure.
she
For
just gives
sure.
the look, and you're like, that's acting. Like,
Did you by chance see the original movie with Natasha Richardson?
No, from
You
like the
need to see
80s
it,
or early
John.
90s. Okay.
So it's so good. Elizabeth McGovern is in it, and
Okay.
she
Hey guys.
plays the lesbian character, and
We can
it's just
hear you.
really, really good. And Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway's in it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Nick, we
Robert
don't need
Duvall.
you anymore. We're taking
Yeah,
over.
we're good. We've moved on.
My
So, okay,
computer
we're ready.
just gave me a sad face and it said that it had to restart. So,
We're good.
So
Okay,
what shows are you
so-
looking forward to?
so what I'm most excited about, I'm 99% sure it's coming out in 2024 because a trailer came out for it, is the next season of Interview with the Vampire.
Oh, that'll be
I haven't
good.
watched it yet.
Yeah, I like it.
So I'm an Anne Rice fan for sure, but the first season, they usually you're scared when they go different, when they change the source material, but the biggest thing that they did is they upped the timeline of it. So for example, the beginning of the first Interview with the Vampire was like 1820s, 1840s or so in Louisiana. This time they changed it to like the 1920s and they make Louis
Yeah.
black. So
Yeah.
he's like a pimp living in New Orleans with like fancy old school cars and stuff. And
Yeah.
just the idea of making him black made it so different because he's wealthy, but he's still not allowed to be part of like the overall culture. And it was just so wonderful. And I'm just really excited about season 2 because that adaptation was incredible.
And what's neat is that is fairly historically correct for the French Quarter at that time in the 1920s, because that was a very affluent area for the gens de couleur, as they called them, or people that were mixed, or most of them had a proper education for the time, and were able to open businesses and do those things. So I thought that part was cool, that they did keep it historically correct as they moved it on.
Nice.
You sound a little low, Nick. Your volume.
Oh, sorry, I can turn that up. I apologize.
Oh, there you go.
So, the one thing that like was a huge tease about the first season is they split that book in half. So the first season was just the first half of the book, all the way up until they escaped from Louis and moved to France. And that's where season 2 is going to start, with them meeting the other vampires in France.
He and Claudia, right?
Sorry, yeah, Louis and Claudia. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
All right, so let's move on to movies that got no love. So starting with you, John, what is something that you really liked this year that either got bad reviews or nobody gave a shit about, and you don't know why no one's talking about it? I guess that's better. A movie that you don't know why no one is talking about.
I didn't write that one down. A movie that you go first, Christopher, and let me think.
Okay. So a movie that I loved, that I think a lot of people did not, or when I've mentioned it to others, they're kind of like, ooh, is Foe, F-O-E.
Okay.
Yeah, it's with the actress, the Irish actress, Saoirse Ronan.
Oh,
you remember?
I love her.
She's terrific, and she is. I mean, it's a very dystopian kind of thriller mixed with a little bit of a love story. So I liked it because I like those kind of dystopian movies. But this one person is chosen. She's given the choice to leave her husband and go on to another planet so she can help, kind of keep things going. And they've kind of left people behind who they did not think were worthy or smart enough to create a new civilization.
Oh,
It was interesting. Yeah. Foe, F-O-E.
Okay.
Not P-H-O, not P-H-O, but F-O-E.
Well, that would be Fa.
That's right. Fa.
Mine would be Monica. And I just recently watched it. It's a movie, and I only knew of it because of an article or something. And it's a movie about a trans woman going back home to care for her dying mother, but her mother has never seen her in that version of herself.
Oh, I saw the trailer for that earlier in the year.
And it's Tracy Lysette is the main actress, who happens to be trans. And Patricia Clarkson plays the mom, who I love. She's always great.
I do too. She's great.
Yeah. And it's very much like a character study. It's a very slow paced, a lot of quiet moments of, or her on the phone, or her contemplating if she's going to call this person. And of course there's emotional scenes and dialogue and everything, but it's a very quiet movie. It also has the girl that played the girlfriend that couldn't die in God's oh geez, what's the one with all the gods?
Oh, you're not just talking about Hayden Panettiere in Heroes.
No. It's I can't think of his name, the author.
The Eternals?
American Gods.
No.
American Gods.
Oh. Oh,
the
yeah.
girl
Neil
that
Gaiman,
plays
yeah.
the girlfriend in that, she's in it and she's excellent as well. It's a cast of maybe like 5 or 6 people. You know, it's a small intimate movie, and again, like if I hadn't came across it in that article, I wouldn't have.
Known about it. Yeah.
Even within like LGBTQ circles, like I hadn't heard about it.
I only heard about it. I only heard about it briefly, and I think it was an article. I'm not sure if it was in Watermark or where I read about it, but it looks great.
Apparently, at I think at Cannes or something, one of the festivals where it premiered, they had like an 11-minute standing ovation.
Right.
The the main character, Monica, her acting is just impeccable, and it's somebody who I believe she was in what was the one with Judith Light, and there was a series that there was controversy because it was a hetero cis male who played the trans lead character, but
What was it
she was
called?
in that
Light?
show.
You know Judith Light. Yeah, Judith Light's great.
Yeah.
By chance, did anyone get to see La Eminstia? And I'm probably pronouncing it incorrectly. That was the Italian movie done with Penelope Cruz this year.
Oh.
And it was
what you're talking about.
Yeah, it sparked my memory. It is about a woman who is a mother of 3, and the oldest daughter is like 13, and has always felt like she's a boy. And it takes place in the mid 1970s in Rome, and they're from a rich industrialist family. Her mother, Penelope Cruz, is very sympathetic and understands. But the father, of course, wants the child to fit in and be a girl and be a debutante. And it's very good. I loved it, and that was a movie I don't think got a lot of credit here. And I actually I think it played at the Greenlight. I don't know, maybe just once or twice or something. But we loved it.
So like I didn't get a chance to see Ferrari, but in that Penelope Cruz also plays an Italian woman, and in the trailer it did not sound like an Italian accent at all. So did she do better in this one?
Her lisp is her Castilian lisp is very hard to disguise, and in this one too. Again, I don't know, when she says "ciao," it's like a ciao.
No.
You know, have you guys ever thought of this? Remember when she was dating Tom Cruise? If she had married Tom Cruise, what would she have been called?
Right.
She would have been called Penelope Cruz.
Yeah.
How hideous would that be?
You know, she's definitely great in the Almodovar movies.
Totally.
Yeah.
She just, and it's funny that like she can play Italian and nobody's like up in arms. And
right.
That's a whole other
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But people were like crazed about what's his name in Maestro because of his nose or something.
Bradley Cooper. Yeah, Bradley Cooper wore the prosthetic.
And it's like, well, they're trying to make him look like the person.
And he did. Yeah, they did a good job with that.
And if the thing is, if they hadn't done that, then people would have been like, oh, he wasn't that handsome. He didn't look like Bradley Cooper. You know what I mean? Like,
well, but speaking of that, it's hilarious to know, like, Bradley Cooper played the Elephant Man on stage with no makeup. So the whole time, if you see clips of it, it looks like he's making fun of disabled people out of context.
Well, I was going to say out of context because theater's a whole different beast, and there's the suspended.
But I know there's a tradition of playing the Elephant Man without makeup, but I think that probably scared him into wanting to do the makeup. I don't know. Just a thought.
Oh, for Maestro,
Yeah.
was it his idea?
I don't know, but we
I
saw
think
an
it was a good
interview.
choice. It was excellent makeup.
Yeah, it was great. We saw an interview on Jane Pauley on Sunday morning, and she interviewed Leonard Bernstein's children.
Mm.
They felt that he really looked like their dad. And the prosthetic nose, they asked if it bothered them or did it happen. She said, "Oh, it didn't bother us at all. You know, he that's what his nose was." So
Well,
yeah,
we're in a day and age where people want to get mad about
Yes.
other people's issues.
for sure.
You know,
For sure.
They
I
do.
agree with
They
that.
really do.
Yeah, I agree with
Well,
that.
I mean that reminds me of this. I have a book that's written by Doug Bradley, the actor who played Pinhead in the Hellraiser movies. It's called Behind the Mask of the Horror Actor, and it's about the history of the, I guess, tradition of losing yourself into a mask, and how that allows you to get rid of the id and focus on the character you're developing. So
Right.
I wouldn't say that's a crutch, but that's a tool that makes it maybe easier for you to play
Sure.
an existing character.
Sure,
is
to get
to
into
lose
it, for
yourself.
sure. I can see
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely.
If you look in the
Absolutely.
mirror
If
and
I
don't
were-
see yourself.
Like if I were playing somebody with a disability or something, I would think that having some sort of constricting garment or something would be helpful.
Right.
To, you know, to be like, no, I can't move the way that I normally do, and that would be helpful in developing that character. So
All right, well, let's move on. We're getting way ahead of ourselves. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I think that's what's making my computer cry. So
Okay.
for movie that got no love, I'm going to call out a movie that was actually my number 2 on my top 10 of the year, and that is Cassandra on Amazon Prime. I adored that movie. It is starring Gael Garcia Bernal, who's an incredible actor. And I know nothing about lucha libre wrestling, except my grandfather was a wrestler called the Red Tornado back in the 60s. He was a Cuban guy wrestling in Mexico. But this movie tells the true story of Cassandro, what they call exotico, the gay wrestlers who would usually just get beaten up by the celebrity wrestlers. And he
Right.
develops a following, develops a character that everybody loves, and then people start cheering for him. The movie it's beautifully shot. It's very still cameras, very shallow depth of field, very dramatic, like sodium lighting. And it's really mostly about a character who basically just learns who he is, decides he wants to be something bigger than himself, and everybody kind of gets enthralled with the energy he puts out into the stage. And it's just that slow development of like gaining confidence, and it's just a very exciting movie, and the ending made me cry. And it was nice to see it's nice to see an LGBT story that ends happily.
Yeah.
So,
it's nice to just it's very cathartic. Like I love a good crier. Like
Right.
yeah.
I thought Gail did a wonderful job portraying Cassandra. And again, I agree with you on the cinematography. Like in the back room, dressing room scenes, it all looks so realistic and just like they had just walked into some dump and borrowed it. You know, that had not been prepped and propped and all that. And I enjoyed Cassandra.
That's on my list. I haven't seen it.
I liked it.
Yeah.
But that's an A24 movie, is it not?
no, it's a Prime original. So
is it?
I
Okay.
think they produced it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say,
all right.
you rarely go wrong with A24.
Yeah. Beef was A24. That was the first series, I want to say. And I did not see that Home Improvement thing, The Curse. I believe that's also A24. But that's on my to-do list. Anyways.
I wasn't in, as much as I love Emma Stone. The Curse, again, it was one of those movies or series. I had to go back to each time, and I don't know. It just got very boring to me. I love the storyline, but I think I would have enjoyed it as a book.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's move on to most shocking moment. John, let's start with you. What's the most shocking moment you saw in a movie in 2023?
When Evil Lurks.
Oh, that was mine, you bastard.
When Evil Lurks. I also think it's like a movie that hasn't gotten it has gotten love in the horror community,
Mhm.
but this filmmaker is so good. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those. It's there's like horror flicks and horror movies, and then there's horror films. Is the way I look at it, where they're just the quality. Like when you go back to movies like The Witch, if that movie had come out at a different time, I mean, it had everything that qualifies a movie for nominations. Like
I loved the Witch.
oh,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful movie and creepy as hell, but beautiful. But yeah, when Evil Lurks, that moment, and I'm rarely shocked
Mhm.
because I
So which
watch
moment?
so
Because
much.
there's a lot of shocking moments in that movie.
So okay, am I allowed to say it? I don't want to.
Yeah, we'll spoil it.
All right, the dog
Even if we
moment.
spoil it, it's still gonna be. Oh, that one. Okay, I picked a different one.
Oh no, the dog moment when the whole scene is going kind of like in the background. In the foreground is the little girl sitting under the table. She's just petting the dog. But you're like, that's not what matters here. It's the fight.
Yeah.
It's the fight back there. And that dog just chomps onto her and just
Shakes her.
rattles. Yes. I think
Ragdoll a child.
that's the main thing about it. And then drags her through the damn neighborhood.
Mm.
That was my like hereditary head chopping moment
Yeah.
this year. Like
That was, and it was so wonderfully filmed too. It looked so realistic.
yes.
And like movies in Argentina are not working with the same budgets that movies in America are.
Exactly.
And so it's all the more impressive.
yeah.
So for me, the most shocking moment of When Evil Lurks was at the end when they go to try and find the other kid that's been kidnapped, and they just see his mother walking down the street, holding him in one arm with his top of his head off, and just like reaching in there, eating it like
Yeah.
jujubes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yum.
What about you, Christopher? What's the most shocking moment you saw in a movie?
No shocking moment. It would have to be shocking and yet disappointing, and
Okay.
would be the film "Leave the World Behind" with Julia Roberts. The end. I was like, "What the hell?" I mean, really?
We're gonna fight.
I mean, I got the whole movie, but I'm like, oh, there you go. That was mine. That was mine. Yeah. Did you
I
all
felt
see?
like it made perfect sense because
Did
it's
it?
like what else are you gonna do? And I guess I'll talk more about it later because I
Right.
have it under like movies people didn't get and stuff like that.
Right.
But I don't know. For me, it worked. I know a lot. It was a very divisive ending.
Yes.
Very polarizing for sure.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's my Netflix blind spot for the year. So I totally missed that one.
It's definitely a must see, though.
Yeah, I would agree.
Definitely a must see.
Okay. So, representation award. This is movies that you feel kind of showed off a culture or something that didn't normally get the Hollywood treatment, and so you kind of appreciate it for opening the world up to that universe. So, starting with you, Christopher, what movie would you give the representation award to?
So I would have to say Killers of the Flower Moon. I don't think that that's a part of history that a lot of people know about, and I don't really think that people understand all of that. And I think it kind of showed it in a different light than what they might have been taught or what they might have been led to believe, even in those areas in Oklahoma, that part of the world. So I would think that one would be it. I loved Lily Gladstone.
She was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about you, John? Representation award.
I'm gonna go with Monica because just the fact that the character was portrayed by an actual trans actress.
That's wonderful.
And because I understand like that whole debate. We should have trans people play trans people, but I also understand it's getting better. Like when that debate started, it was like, yes, but at the same time, Holly, it's all about money and and bringing people in to fill those seats. And it's hard to have a movie, be a hit with like no names.
Right.
And so my whole thing was like, well, would you rather the story not be told at all, or that it be told with respect by an actor who appreciates and delves into the culture, and that's how I saw it. Because some of these movies that in the past, um, if they did not have, like, if it didn't have Hilary Swank or
Mhm.
voice over, they probably wouldn't have been made. You know what I mean?
Right.
If they couldn't
Yeah,
get
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
and
she was
I'm happy that they were told.
right.
But just the fact that we're in a day and age where this can happen, that would be my representation pick.
Good. I like that.
Right on.
For me, I'm picking a documentary. I don't watch a lot of documentaries just because the way I review movies, I rate them on writing, directing, and acting, and that kind of leaves blank spaces in my spreadsheet. But I am going with Little Richard. I Am Everything.
It was great.
There was a lot of drama in Little Richard's life,
Oh.
and it was interesting too to see. I say it as if it's like a film, but it's a documentary. But it's interesting to see the story of someone who constantly struggled with their sexuality.
Sure.
Between finding Jesus and rejecting it, and then accepting it, and then rejecting it again.
Rationalizing it.
And it's just, I guess it's, I don't know if, I'm not a gay man, so I don't know if that helps, but I guess it does show people that it's maybe not all cut and dry, that there are difficulties that even the most proud people can find.
Of course.
I
Right.
thought that was a pretty useful example to.
We just saw it. We loved it.
Yeah. And plus, it was also nice seeing kind of a little bit into the world of what rock and roll was like touring in the South and the Chitlin circuit.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
I gotta say, Netflix has also, I don't know, is that one on Netflix?
it's
Or-
on Max, I think is where I watched it.
Max.
Okay, because Netflix has this year quite a few great documentaries about Black culture and like Black models and Black, like just how they influence the beauty industry and all of that. So it's good to see that these stories are being
Yeah.
told. Yeah.
Speaking of it, John, was it you who posted on Facebook today about Marina Abramovich is now selling makeup?
Oh.
Well, not makeup. She's selling skincare. And my whole thing is like, it just seems to me like it's a whole like that's a whole part of the performance. Like she's
I guess so.
playing a trick on beauty consumers.
Well, I mean, if I was given the opportunity to shell a product, I would do it like that. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's not a criticism. My whole thing was like, what do you think? Do you think she's just really interested in this, or do you think that this is a larger than life performance, a performance that
I think it can be both, because
yeah,
if you're a performance artist, there's only so many ways you can make money. So,
True.
Well, a friend of mine said maybe she's thinking about retirement because what's the 401k for performance artists?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Just cashing it in.
Limited. Each item, each serum or whatever is limited to, I think, 8,000.
Hey,
All right.
there you go.
I mean, I get
in the past.
Well, that makes sense.
She sold a self-help thing in the past, where you would get these like flashcards, and some of them were like, drink a glass of water as slowly as you can, walk backwards with a mirror. Like that's all they were.
Right.
I guess people bought them because it's
It's an idea.
I love her. I think.
At what point are you?
Incredible.
It's like, well, at what point are you no longer going to consider yourself a performance artist? You're someone who makes products and sells them, which there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
All right, so let's go into the next category, movies you didn't get. So starting with you, Christopher, what is a movie that everybody raved over and you just didn't care for?
Well, On that one, there were. I would have to say Barbie. I just didn't.
Oh,
I just did not. I mean, I understood it, but again, I wasn't hyped about it. I wasn't into it, and yeah, it wasn't for me.
okay.
This
I
was-
mean, then again, not every movie's for every person.
No,
Right.
So,
of course
It
not.
just wasn't. It wasn't. I mean, so many people loved it. My husband loved it. He thought, it was definitely a comedic movie, and I just didn't like it. Yeah, I didn't get it. So
all right. What about you, John?
Uh, I don't know if we can curse, but
Go for it.
okay, fucking Skinamarink. Skinamarink pissed me the fuck off, and I committed because it's very easy to click that movie off, but I'm like, no, something's gonna give here, something's gonna happen.
Did
And
you
I
see it at
just-
home or in the theater?
I saw it at home. If I had been at the theater, I would have burnt it down.
I
If
saw
had
it in the
spent-
theater.
If I had spent ticket money on that, oh my god, I would have been
I
furious.
saw it in the theater, and there were some great moments, but they were kind of hidden amongst the not great moments.
They were very well
So-
hidden.
Yeah, like it. They really they ask a lot of their audience before they can actually deliver anything exciting to you. Like I love the kind of towards the end when the little girl finds her parents in the bedroom sitting on the bed, and they tell her to like come look under the bed, and she doesn't want to. I thought that was horrifying, but that only makes sense
Right.
because you've been watching just static in the dark for the last 2 hours, so something is happening. So that's exciting.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's
But
Some-
a lot of yeah, that's true. But I know, like with Skinamarink, they say it's either you loved it or you hated it, and I was kind of in the middle. I hated most of it, but I loved the parts that were worth loving. So I guess both.
I
for me.
think the no dialogue thing is very, very difficult to pull off. No one. What is it? No one will.
no
save
one will
you?
save you.
That
Yeah.
was a great use of. I think there's only like I forget. You can count how many words are in it.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think
but
there
it
are
was-
any.
at there's like a handful, but at no moment did I feel like, oh come on, like what's it just
What's
kept
happening?
moving and it kept me engaged. This one I could not.
It had a lot of dialogue, but Skinamarink had a lot of dialogue, but it's like children and they're very quiet and mumbly. It's hard
I
enough to
guess,
understand what
yeah.
children are. So I did appreciate that they had subtitles in the movie because I don't
Yeah.
like children and I don't understand when children talk.
I think it's the movie that gave me the least since the Blair Witch Project. But
Oh,
at least the
okay.
Blair Witch Project had a pretty scary last 5 minutes.
It did.
All right, so for me, the movie that I didn't get was The Boy and the Heron. I feel like people were just obsessing over that movie just because it's supposedly the last film from Miyazaki. But I thought the storyline was a mess. The last line of the movie was really stupid. It's the little boy after this huge grand adventure. He says, "We moved to Tokyo a year later." Credits. I'm like, why? What was? Huh? That had nothing to do with anything we just saw. That's such a weird note to end on. And I thought the drawings were good. The animation was pretty choppy. It was like a fifth of Spirited Away in quality, if you could quantify the quality of it.
If
But
you could go there.
I feel like Spirited Away is the height of Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki. I don't think The Boy and the Heron is a good place to end a career on.
Mm.
People still obsessed with that movie, and I just did not care for it. All right, so let's talk about movie they didn't get. So, starting with you, John, what is something that you loved that got really bad reviews?
Okay, well, I have two. And one
Mhm.
is not because I loved it. I'm going to say Skinamarink because I feel like anybody who says it's brilliant, they just didn't fucking get it. And they feel like there's something about it. And it's artsy,
Okay.
so it must be brilliant.
Okay.
But I'm going to say Leave the World Behind because of so many, not because of the ending being divisive, but because I saw so many people post about like, well, it didn't give me any answers about anything, and what was with the deer, and what was with the this, and I'm like, for me, that was the whole point. That if
Right.
that happened in that moment, you wouldn't have it. You wouldn't know what the fuck was going on. So to give answers, I think would take away from the point of the movie. They were, they were in the middle of something that was happening. And if it were us right now, we wouldn't have any clue if there was no TV to tell us, if there was no, we would have to assume. And, there were things like the migratory patterns were changing. And I even thought, like, is that why she decided to get away at the last minute? Like it was an impromptu, let's just go away.
Right.
And, was that like it's kind of spreading to humans, how we decide to go places? And I mean, I thought the answers were there where they needed to be, but I thought that a lot of it was meant to not be answered because you're supposed to be in that kind of confusion of the moment. So I feel like a lot of people miss that about it because people like movies explained.
Okay.
There you go.
I do like a movie that, I guess better way to say it is I don't like when movies give things to the audience that the audience shouldn't have, or it's unnatural for the characters to discuss it. Like when someone says, as you know, this is your last day before retirement. It's like nobody would say that to another character.
Right.
So I love movies where, like, as the audience, you have to really pay attention to like catch up with the characters. So it seems like I would like that movie once I do
I think
get
you
Netflix
would.
back.
I think you would. It's very well made. And well, you'll have to let us know what you think of the ending. Are you Team John or Team Christopher?
Christopher, so what is a movie they didn't get? Something that you liked that got bad reviews?
I think it got very mixed reviews. There were some really bad ones, and then there were some that were good. And it could be just because people know about it or whatever. Was May December. I got the movie. I understood it. But I had many people say to me, what was that? Like, did she believe in did she think it was okay that the Julianne Moore's character had done this and lived that life? And I was like, no, she's an actress, but she was there and she had a different view of it after she had studied her and been with her. And I think a lot of people lost that point of the movie. But I thought it was a great movie. I got it. It was easy. But a lot of people walked away from it and they're like, huh, okay.
Okay. Again, Netflix blind spot for me, but I have heard good things from a lot of actresses that I do love. That's my fault. That's my fault.
I don't know how many
actresses, so they both did a wonderful job in it.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people remember the Mary Lou Letourneau.
A lot of people don't, and I think it was mainly my younger friends and younger people I know that were like, "Oh,
it's like, no, this really happened. Actually, like this is fictionalized."
And a lot of people forget too that she's now dead.
Yeah,
Marianne. Yeah, she's gone. So a lot of people kind of forget that.
And that he was by her side when she passed.
Totally, he totally stuck with her, and he always did.
I think what it is too is that it's an uncomfortable
Yeah.
and the fact that they actually had a marriage that worked for many years, and that it makes us uncomfortable because it was statutory rape.
Right.
So we don't expect things like that to work out, like
totally.
That's it's yucky, like.
Sure. Like, ew.
I mean, that was also my biggest problem with Poor Things. Is that it's about basically a toddler having a sexual awakening.
Right. Right.
So that's a conversation for when we get to the nominations. So a movie, for me, the movie that they didn't get is Mafia Mama. That movie got terrible reviews, but it was so much fun.
I love
Collette inherits a mafia, or She
Yes.
has to become a mafia don, but she's just like a soccer mom. It was so silly, so fun, such a delight. It was like, and I love how the movie comments on itself, because Toni Collette, she goes to Italy expecting to have an Under the Tuscan Sun moment. She keeps specifically saying that, like, I'm here to have my Under the Tuscan Sun moment, but no, she's got to deal with this shootout, or no, she's got to deal with this assassination attempt. It was really silly and really fun.
It was fun.
Anything Toni Collette has my heart.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally. Muriel!
I'm still mad that she wasn't even nominated for Hereditary. Still mad.
Yeah.
I know. That was a wonderful performance.
It's good.
Anyways,
Well, she gave you like
so
five.
let's
You know, when you watch a movie, Barbie, for example, it's like, because I was telling Ron, I'm like, you know, like I remember America Ferrera in it, but I don't remember her in the way that garners an Oscar nomination. And he was like, oh, it was her speech.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's right. She had this big speech. So in movies, a lot of times you see a scene and you're like, that's where she's nominated.
Mhm.
You know, that's going to get him that nomination. And Toni Collette had like 5 of those in Hereditary. And one of them, she wasn't even on screen.
Hereditary was so good.
Yeah. It's like, but anyway.
Well, I think it's just in general, the Academy doesn't care about horror films. So.
No.
Yep.
But how
I believe
pretty and
Get
well
Out
directed
was,
do we have to make them for them to care about them? You know what I mean?
Right.
We're not talking about regular 80s slasher anymore. Like, these are like beautifully done films now, a lot of them. Or
I
maybe
think The
not
Exorcist
majority,
was the
but
last horror film to win Best Picture, unless Get Out got one, but I don't think that was Best
Get
Picture.
Out was one screenplay.
Yeah.
What was the one you said? I think Silence of the
The
Lambs.
Exorcist was the last horror movie to win
I think
Best
Silence
Picture.
of the Lambs, if you consider it horror.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
And they both won.
Anyways, so this last category, Best Bad Movie, I had this idea as I was going through my list and taking a look at what was on the bottom of it. And there was one movie that was terrible, but I really want to rewatch it. That movie I'm going to call out first is Spinning Gold, which is a biopic about, I forgot his name, but the guy who created, I should have done some research. I saw it in like January. It's a biopic about the guy who created the record company that had Donna Summer and Kiss and Parliament and
Casablanca Records.
Yes, Casablanca Records.
Neil from Casablanca Records.
Yeah. So the movie is really bad. It's like everyone's wigs. You can see their hair beneath the wig.
Oh no.
And the makeup is terrible. Everybody is overacting everything. It feels a lot like Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, in that it's like making fun of biopics, but it doesn't realize it's making fun of biopics.
Okay.
But the movie has wonderful musical performances from impersonators who look nothing like the musicians they're impersonating, but vocally they're fantastic. Like the Donna Summer impersonator does a great vocal performance, but she looks nothing like Donna Summer.
That's funny.
And the movie's just full of unnecessary cameos, like, oh, there goes that guy, and it's so dumb, but it's really fun. It's like The Room level nonsense.
I like anything of that era too. You know, it was like American Hustle. That was a super fun movie. Even though it had a background story and everything, it was still that era. So it's cool.
Well, like I saw it because I had free time. I'm like, oh, I can go to the movies this afternoon and let's see what's playing. And I read the description, didn't see a trailer or a poster or anything. I'm like, oh, this sounds fun. And that was an adventure of a terrible film. But I do want to rewatch it or listen to the soundtrack at least to hear covers of these great songs. All right, what about you, John? What was the worst movie that you had a lot of fun with?
Cocaine Bear.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's so delicious. And you can't really, I want to say that it's bad on purpose, but maybe because I like Elizabeth Banks is her name, I think.
Love her, yeah.
Yeah. Didn't she direct it?
Yes, she did.
Yes, I think it was her baby, that project.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's so out there,
I mean,
stupid.
totally entertaining and fun to
So
watch.
entertaining. I was so
And then the
entertained
fact
by
that
it.
it's based on a true story, so I think that that's great. A lot of people that
Yes.
saw it didn't really realize that.
Yeah.
I think the movie was very hit or miss. Like the ending was just a dark, muddy mess, lighting wise. But I really loved the scene of like when the cop is on the top of the gazebo and he's got the gun on the person and he can't figure out how to get off the gazebo and keep the gun on him. That was hilarious.
She's terrific. Yeah, she's terrific.
Yeah, and then the ambulance scene with was that Ann Dowd getting her face smashed on the road?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So that was a fun movie, but it was not Elizabeth Banks's best directing performance.
No. Did anyone get a chance to ever see Call Jane with Elizabeth
No.
Banks? It's great. It was about a pro-choice activist from the 70s that was involved with a network. Sigourney Weaver is in it as well, and she's involved in a network of women that helped other women get to clinics and all of that. But she was great. She's kind of a little underrated, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Did she direct? I know she was in it. Did she direct the horror one that was like a Superman kind of story?
No, she didn't direct that one.
Just
I want to say that was, yeah, you're talking about Brightburn was the movie.
Yeah.
Right, Brightburn.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, she was just in it.
Maybe she did. I mean, I could look it up. But I remember when Pitch Perfect 3 came out, she directed that, and at the time, it was the highest-grossing film ever directed by a woman, which just got beaten by Barbie.
Right? Yeah, of course.
And then I feel like after that movie, she was a little overrated because I don't think it was her directing that made Pitch Perfect 3 so successful. I think it was the fact that it was Pitch Perfect 3. But she kind of rolled that into Charlie's Angels, which was a huge flop. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But she may have directed Brightburn. You could be right.
I love Brightburn.
Well,
it was really fun.
It was. I think
it's so different.
I think that Brightburn was directed by a gentleman named David Yarovesky.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. David Yarovesky.
Looked it up before I did.
I did. But he's she was the main star, but didn't direct it. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I do want a sequel to Brightburn. If I remember correctly, the kid survives at the end.
I liked it. I liked Brightburn.
Yeah.
It's good.
I just like that it was such an odd subject for a horror film.
Sure.
Like, I don't know that I've ever seen that kind of superhero origin story, blah, 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 in that context.
I mean, even without superpowers, children are horrifying to me.
Yeah.
So, Christopher, what about you? Best bad movie?
Mine would have to be Asteroid City.
It's
I mean, I found it. While I say it's the best bad, because there were so many great actors that were in it. It was costumed and styled beautifully. Maybe not so realistically, but there was a lot of visual treats in that. Especially with the home decor, and I sometimes get into movies like that. That's why everyone was like, "Oh, you'd love Barbie." But then I went and I was like, "Oh, so I don't know why. This is not for me." But Asteroid City would have to be the best bad movie to me, and that
was almost my movie I didn't get.
Okay,
I agree. It had I loved the stop motion alien. Taking that little doohickey, but overall I just didn't care about, like, I thought he was being too cute with like the actors performing the play, describing the movie, and I didn't care about any of the storylines that were all interwoven. I just felt like it was a huge drop off from the quality that was The French Dispatch.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so that's our banter. Went on for an hour and something. So let's go ahead now and take a look at the Oscar nomination. So the first one I want to go over is Best Director. And for directing, our nominations officially are Justine Triet in Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for Zone of Interest. So starting with you, John, what do you think is going to win, and what do you think should win? What do you think deserves to win?
I think that Scorsese will probably win. And I
Do you think he deserves it?
unfortunately haven't seen it yet, but I think he's going to win. But again, not having seen it, I'm going to say that he probably should win, just from the things that I hear about it.
Okay. All right.
Hello?
And what about you, Christopher?
So I really kind of think that Scorsese will win for Killers of a Flower Moon. I'm with that, and I kind of think he should. I think he should. I think that there were so many different actors in it, level wise, and the length they've been in the business and all of that. And I think to maybe kind of pull all of them together and have to direct them in different ways. I mean, you know, you're going to be directing Robert De Niro way differently than you would be Lily Gladstone, but making it very believable too. And I thought it was good. I thought he should win.
So I'm going to go with the same thing too. Like, every scene looks like it took a lot of work to put together.
Yes.
Set designing, audio, music, making everything realistic and time accurate. It
Yeah.
seems like he put a lot of effort into all of that.
Sure.
I think the biggest, the thing that's probably going to get the second most amount of votes is probably Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan. Because that also, like, those scenes looked like they took a lot of work too, but most of it also felt like it was in the middle of a desert.
Right.
So maybe it's a little bit easier to pull that stuff off. I feel like a few people are going to be voting for Yorgos Lanthimos, but I don't think he's ever really going to be best director level, because he's more story than production, even though this movie was very production heavy. But I agree, it's going to be Martin Scorsese. Plus,
Yeah.
he's so old, people like to vote for old people.
Yeah, I think he should get it.
Yeah, so we're all in agreement with Martin Scorsese is going to win Best Director. Next up, we've got Best Actor in a Leading Role. So our options are Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. So, Christopher, who do you think's going to win? Who do you think should win?
So I think Cillian Murphy will win for Oppenheimer. However, I feel like Bradley Cooper should win for Maestro. I think there's just so much flack out there about him being nominated. And as well, you know, there's still people out there who knew Leonard Bernstein very well, that some on the Academy, part of the Academy, and those things do come into play when they're voting too. So that's my take on it. I love Cillian Murphy. I think he's great. I thought his role to me wasn't that challenging. It was kind of the same throughout the movie. So I think he'll win, though.
Yeah. I think to agree with that, I feel like Cillian Murphy, a lot of his acting, I'm not an actor, but I feel like a lot of his acting was just him being quiet and looking around a lot with his big
He's got
ass
those
eyes.
giant eyes, and he's just like, I'm Cillian Murphy. Yeah.
What about you, John? What about you? Who do you think's going to win, and who do you think should win?
I think that, I mean, Christopher's probably right, but if I was gonna say that a dark horse pulls, I think like Paul Giamatti could maybe pull it as a surprise win. I agree that I think Bradley Cooper should win, but I would also love to see Jeffrey Wright win, because he's fantastic, and I don't think he gets enough.
He is great.
It's like every couple of years, you're like, oh, it's Jeffrey Wright. I love him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know. I know he's been nominated in the past, but I don't know that he's received that much award season love overall compared to other actors. But I do agree. I think Bradley should win.
So it's interesting that 2/5 of the nominees are Black Americans. So that's good to see. I know people love
Yes.
Coleman Domingo. I have never heard of the movie Rustin, so I don't think anyone's going to be voting for him. I don't think anyone's seen that movie.
Right.
A lot of people like Jeffrey Wright, but not enough to push the needle. And I think a lot of people are just annoyed at how much Bradley Cooper wants it. Because I understand he's been like very heavy with the push and the marketing push, and so's Netflix.
Campaigning for it.
Yeah.
Well, I also think that they're like also probably like, oh well, a black guy won last year, so we did good. We can skip a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, I feel like the Academy is each year the bulk of the Academy gets younger because old people die
It has to.
and younger people come in. So I feel like in general that's maybe not. It's less of a block making decisions. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I don't know.
No, it makes.
Anyways, I think it's going to be Paul Giamatti because, I mean, like the holdovers is I feel like the kind of movie that Academy voters love because it's nostalgic for when they were kids.
Right.
And
It's a great movie. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Paul Giamatti did his best acting in it. He did his best Paul Giamatti impression.
Right.
So,
Right.
and I think it'd be fun for him to win. I don't really care if Cillian Murphy wins. I don't really care if Jeffrey Wright wins. I don't care if Bradley Cooper wins or Coleman. But I think Paul Giamatti winning just kind of gives everyone something to smile about.
Makes me think I could do it too.
Right.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I mean, that could be the feeling with that. Yeah, you know, with other people.
Yeah.
He is
So
that
I just
kind
hope it's. I'm just always reminded of, I think it was 2 years ago when Anthony Hopkins won for Best Actor in The Father, and everybody expected it to be Black Panther. And so that was just the most awkward, uncomfortable ending to the Academy Awards ever.
Mhm.
And it was a movie that nobody saw because it like showed up a week before the year ended.
I saw it.
Yeah, was it good? Was it Oscar-worthy performance?
The Father, yeah. And, you know, and I think Olivia Colman was such a big draw for that movie, too, because, you know, she had won just like, what was it, 2 years before, maybe? She had won Best Supporting for The Favorite. Playing Queen Anne. But, yeah, I thought he was great. I thought he did a good job.
All right, so let's talk about actress in a leading role. So our nominees were Annette Bening in Naiad, excuse me, Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall, Carey Mulligan in Maestro, and Emma Stone in Poor Things. Starting with you, John, who do you think is going to win and who do you think should win?
I think Lily Gladstone's going to win. It's been like a pretty consistent. I would love to see Carey Mulligan win.
Me too.
I thought she was
Me too.
so spot on.
Yep.
I was like, you know, I remember like somebody was like, oh, Fantasia got robbed at the Golden Globes. And I was like, did you see Maestro?
Yeah.
They were like, well, did you see Color Purple? And I was like, of course I saw Color Purple. And Fantasia was great. But
Right.
I'm like, I would be so Carey Mulligan win. And she just has a really strong, consistent body of work. Like Promising Young Woman. I thought she would be nominated for that.
I love that. Yeah. She was great.
I really was like, she's getting nominated for this. There's no way. And I do think she got nominated for some things, but I don't think for an Oscar if I remember correctly. But
Right.
But in any case, she didn't win if she was. But yeah, I would love to see. I think Lily will win. And I would but I would love to see Carrie.
So that's where, not to jump the gun. Was I going to be next?
No, go for it. Yeah. No, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like Lily Gladstone will win. I think the time is right. The timing for her is right. Some people don't even know who she is. Maybe people who don't watch movies, and she's really great. She's really great in the movie. But I would really like to see Carey Mulligan win as well. I thought her portrayal in Maestro was so realistic, and how she dealt with everything. And I like how she's always able to transform herself into something different. Some people were like, "Oh, she's too young to have been his wife," and I'm like,